This is John for the Everyday Fan Sports. Today I have the pleasure of being back on the beat with one of my old friends, dear friends, author John Cosper. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, John. How are you doing?
Good, man. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Wish we could have hooked up over the weekend in Chicago. So I was,
Just bad timing, man. It was
yeah,
I was man, I had to cover that. I had to cover a couple different events. I was running around like crazy last weekend, but well, yeah,
yeah,
we'll get it together at some point.
that sounds good. Yeah, actually, I got stranded overnight on a work trip, and funny story. I'll tell you since we'll be jumping into wrestling here in a minute. But I knew SmackDown had been in town that Friday night, and I'm sitting at O'Hare Airport waiting to catch my flight to Louisville, and I spot Finn Balor walking around,
Oh
and
yeah.
I Googled real quick and realized they were all going to be in Moline the next day, and the gate right next to me was a plane headed to Moline. So, and then getting a photo with Finn, and then I saw Rhea Ripley and Carl Anderson, and I think Damian Priest all getting on that plane to Moline Friday or Saturday. So, my daughter said, "Does that make up for getting stranded, about being home?" I was like, "No, but it was cool."
It helped.
Yeah, yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
No, it had to be. I don't even know if I recognize. I mean, I'm so bad at recognizing people. Unless it was like Hulk Hogan walking through the airport, I probably wouldn't recognize.
Yeah. It was when I came through security, I saw Anderson, and he was the one I was kind of like, is that him? And he was, the way he was dressed, and yeah, I could see some tattoos, and he had the headphones on, was obviously just trying to move around, and I just blew it out. I actually forgot about it. And then I looked up at one point, I was like, oh, that's Finn Balor. I mean, he was hard to miss. Went over after he came over and sat down. I went over and took a photo with him, and then no sooner had I sat down, this girl comes walking by and did not have her normal makeup on, had completely different makeup on, an all black outfit. But so it took me a second. I was like, oh, that's Rhea Ripley. So, and as gorgeous as she is with her makeup on television, she's equally gorgeous without it. So it was very, very pretty lady, and just I wouldn't have recognized her, probably wouldn't known her at all if I hadn't known Finn was over there and hadn't seen her walk over there. Like, oh, okay.
So
But
did you slip a business card, to set up for the
I
future
did
books?
not. No, I just went over, said hello, took a picture. It was very nice, and just they're traveling. They don't want to be
Yeah.
bothered. So I don't. And once I didn't go over and get any others because I'd already been over there to say hello to Finn. So and it just didn't want to be that guy. But no, it was really cool to see him.
It's always tough, like not to be that guy, but it's like
Right.
this is your one chance to be that guy.
It's the I had Madman Pondo's voice in the back of my head. Get those photos. You never know if you're going to see somebody again. Get those photos. So that's something I've tried to do more of the past couple of years, and not just with known names, but also with people that are coming up. I had a great pleasure. I think we talked a while ago about me going to Ashland, Kentucky, and hanging out with Bobby Blaze and seeing his student Reese Ramon. Took pictures with him, took pictures with her. I think she's got a bright future. We'll be seeing her down the road, and that's something that got reinforced with me. I'm finishing up Dean Hill's book, the voice of OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling. He was the voice of Louisville Gardens before that, and Dean's got photos of his book with Brian Christopher, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, with Dr. Isaac Yankem, who became Kane. He took pictures with everybody. He took pictures with Joe LeDuc. He took pictures with Lawler. He took pictures with, all the big names. He took pictures with all the little guys, because it's just like, you just don't know who's going to be a big star and who's not. And and it means something to those guys, even when they're coming up, that somebody bothered to stop and, hey, can I take a photo with you and stuff. And you just never know. He's got great photos hanging on the wall of him with The Rock and him with Kane before they were huge stars. So
No, hey, I agree.
yeah.
I pretty much will take a picture with every wrestler at the show. My only complaint is too many times they don't come out.
Yeah, a lot. I guess that does kind of hamper your ability to do that. And there's some of them, not many, because a lot of them, they've got their gimmicks and they want to get that extra gas money. But you do have a few of them out there who take their role being heels seriously, and they won't come out and they won't do the photos and the autographs and stuff. So
Yeah, but even the quote unquote good guys lately
mhm.
at least in the Chicago area, there's like less than half of them are coming out. And I don't get it. It's like you can
I
make more
don't get
money
the
in your
reaction.
gimmick table than for
Certainly, yeah.
busting your back in the ring.
Yeah. We all saw what happened with Mandy Rose this past week. She got let go by the WWE, and whether you like what she's doing or not, she made $500,000 over the last week, out of that news story. So and good on her, good on her.
Yeah, that's a little more than I'll make this year.
Yeah, a little bit
Just,
more.
yeah, just a little. Well, let's talk about. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to definitely get to your books. I always ask you, who you've seen lately. So who have you seen lately?
I've been going to OVW still quite a bit, and I think um, there's definitely a lot of talent. I'm really curious to see what happens in the next year with some folks. I did a story for Slam Wrestling not too long ago about the Outrunners. This is a tag team. These are two veteran guys. They are, teachers backstage, and they're mentors to a lot of that locker room. They resemble a couple guys that longtime OVW folks might know, named Shiloh Jones and Randall Floyd, but they both claim they've never ever heard of these guys. But Truth Magnum Turbo Floyd, they're the two most entertaining guys on that roster. Definitely the most entertaining tag team I've seen anywhere in this past year. They're very old school. You take a look at them and you hear their Miami Vice type music and everything when they make their entrance, and it's like, did these guys just fall through a time warp in 1983 in Tampa and end up here in Louisville? They had a match at OVW not too long ago, and I've actually just found out they're having a rematch at the Nightmare Rumble with Shannon the Dude and with Adam Revolver. A 5-star classic. This was not a 5-star comedy classic. This absolutely was. It was just beautiful shenanigans and back and forth, exactly what you wanted to see out of a match like that. Three of those guys can go. Shannon the Dude, obviously, he's more of a personality at ringside, not really a wrestler, but it was absolutely perfect for the occasion. It was hilarious. It was a show stealer, which every match they ever have is. If you want to see good, hard, serious wrestling out of these guys, go back to a couple months ago. I don't remember the name of the big show it was, but they worked a younger tag team called Level X in a double dog collar match. And it was tremendous. It was absolutely very old school and a lot of fun to watch. These guys have gotten a look from AEW twice now. I kind of expect to see them appearing on AEW Dark or Evolution. Is it Revolution? I don't Elevation. I think they call it.
Elevation.
Yeah, I expect they'll be on one or the other when AEW comes to Lexington here in the next month. These are guys to watch. I think they're definitely on their way up. Some other folks I think from OVW, I think their time's coming. Shalon Sawyer Royale, she's still currently the women's champion. I just saw she is co-hosting a show called Whacked Out, a reality competition with Jesse Goddard's. I knew Jesse was working on the show, didn't know Shalon was working on the show, and actually the Outrunners are part of it as well. They're definitely very high on her there. She's got a lot of personality. She's, in the tradition of Gloria Baratini, the opera singer turned wrestler back in the 50s. She is a classically trained opera singer. She has an absolutely gorgeous voice, and she uses that voice to irritate the heck out of the crowd. She's a big time heel at OVW. I think you could certainly see her doing something in the next year. My daughter's on the couch over here. She's going to scowl at me. Luke Curtis definitely had a great run as a heel at OVW. He definitely seems to impress more and more every time I see him. I look for, the veteran Jack Vaughn. If you're on Twitter, or sorry, not Twitter, TikTok, and you're not following Jack Vaughn, you're missing the most entertaining wrestling thread out there. He's a 38-year-old, long-time independent veteran, and he's hit on this new character where he is the sneering, I know more than you, I'm better than you, old school veteran in pro wrestling. And all of his videos are making fun of the indie wrestlers, particularly the guys that, do the thigh slap when they hit somebody. He's just entertaining as all get out. Somebody asked me the other day on a podcast, who's the breakout star of 2023? Billy Starks just turned 18, folks. Okay, she just went to Japan. She just made her AEW debut. I think that's pretty much a no-brainer. This is going to be Billy's year to really break out. I saw she posted on Facebook the other day, what states require this, what states require that. She's going to be licensed everywhere. She's going to be traveling everywhere. Again, it's a question of when, not if, she's going to sign with one of the major companies, where she's going to go. I think you're going to see her travel international a little bit more before she settles down. But this is definitely going to be her big breakout year, I think.
Yeah, she missed the second wrestling first anniversary show, but she will be defending her title on the next show, which I know they've it's called True Identity or Mistaken Identity, I think. Mm-hmm. In either case, it's in February, and she will be on that card. So I'm looking forward to it. Anytime I can see Billy wrestle, and like you said, go to see her now, because she's not going to be around.
It's going to get a little pricier, yeah. So I was excited too. I got to give this lady a plug. Judy Ray Hendricks has gone back to her kind of hillbilly roots character, wearing the overalls and everything. She tried some different things at OVW over the last year, and I think she's kind of hit on something that's a little more true to herself. I know she's working hard at OVW. She's moved to Louisville, and really busting her tail backstage, doing everything they ask of her. definitely excited to see where she goes this next year. And Big Alice Crowley has had a great run at OVW lately. She and Ari Alexander, who's finally breaking out of Ryan Von Rocket's shadow, as of lately. They've gotten her away from the guitar-y type thing, and now she's back on her own. That women's division at OVW is clicking. I know Maria put out a call for ladies for the Nightmare Rumble coming up, and she's had way more applicants wanting to be in that Rumble and wanting to come to OVW than she could possibly have spots for. So it's definitely a place to go if you're looking to train, you're looking to get seen as a woman in pro wrestling.
Well, let's look at this past year. You've seen a lot of wrestling, so because it's near the end of the year, who would you say would be, like, I don't know, 2-3 of the most improved indie wrestlers, man or woman?
Uh, I'm trying to think as far as most improved. I mean, it's been a year where I've kind of gotten back in and reconnected with that indie scene. I've definitely seen more of OVW in the past year than I have, at any time in, particular stretch of time in the past. Honestly, everybody that I've watched at OVW over the past year, you can't help but notice a change week to week every time they come out. You talk about a guy like Isaiah. Isaiah's been around for forever. He's not currently working on their shows or anything like that, but anytime I see Isaiah he come out, he's a different wrestler than the time before. He's just constantly learning. The learning tree at OVW, the roots are so deep. Al Snow, obviously, he's the Yoda, he's the guru up at the top. He's the guy that, the advanced class teacher Doug Basham and the beginner class teacher Cash Flow, they're learning from him, at the same time. You can see the improvement in everybody who's on that roster, from month to month, from week to week. The new face that I discovered, the one I'm excited to see her continue to grow is Reese Ramon. The Outrunners. I love seeing how these guys have latched onto these characters. They continue to evolve. There's a lot of folks in that OVW locker room I really like. And Jay Malachi, that's another guy that I discovered this year. I saw him with Paradigm. I've seen him with OVW. Just one of the most naturally gifted athletes I've ever seen in a pro wrestling ring. Just the way he moves, everything he does is solid. Somebody else we can mention too, Sawyer Wreck. Why this girl's not signed somewhere right now, I don't know. She's a legit 6'2".
Wow.
She's got a great look. The way she moves, the way she takes the ring, she looks like a superstar. She just commands the ring. She commands your attention. She had a great match at GCW not too long ago with Madman Pondo. Sawyer's a superstar, I mean, and why she's not, working Stardom, why she's not working Impact or AEW, I'm not sure. She's a deathmatch specialist, but she's more than deathmatch, she can tell a story. Just a lot of natural talent, a lot of charisma. Always enjoy watching her in the ring. So that's somebody else I would be looking out for this next year.
Well, you never steer me wrong, because every person that you've mentioned that I've ended up seeing, whether it's Masha Slamovich, Charlie Cruel, obviously Billy Stark, Sky Blue, all of them, eventually they make their way to Chicago at some point. And I've seen all of them now, and wow, I couldn't, well, obviously Billy's probably at the head of that class, but the rest of them, one of them is as good as the next. They are just all very talented.
Yeah, and it's almost a thing. Sometimes you hear so much about Billy. Is she really that good? And then sit back and you watch her. It's like, yeah, she kind of is.
Yeah.
I mean, just so much charisma and so much fun. Yeah, just loves what she does. I mean, has all the heart in the world, has all the love for pro wrestling, and has all the talent. And she's a sponge. She's a natural learner. She's constantly learning. She's constantly working, constantly training, just wanting to get better and be the best she can.
And just a total sweetheart too. She's so nice, before and after.
Grounded, down to earth, straight A student. Yeah, she's traveling all weekend, and she gets in at 4 a.m. on Sunday morning. She's in class and she's half asleep, but she's still getting straight A's. So
exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get to a little more personal with you. What do you got new with books? What do you got going on?
I just released Dead Park Records on Amazon. I don't have physical copies and probably won't until January. I'm waiting to do kind of a social media push for it. It's the third book in the Dead Park series. If you're into fiction, it's a little different than the other Dead Park books. The first two were kind of short story compilations. They were definitely slanted towards horror. We had killer clowns. We had vampires. We had, killer toilets. We had cannibal, corporate executives and things like that. This one's a actual self-contained story. It's a full, novella about a guy who's just a down on his luck musician. He's just been kicked out of his band because his band members say you're too old, and his dream of becoming a musician seems to be slipping away from him. And then he meets a record executive from Dead Park Records, which just happens to have its base of locations in Dead Park Plaza, going back to the first book. And the record executive offers him a deal. I will give you a record contract. I don't even need to hear your songs. I don't need to know how good you are. I'm going to give you a record contract. All you got to do is take this gun, take this photograph, take this address, and go kill the girl that you find at this address. So it's kind of a, he goes out there to find this girl, and is he willing to, to kill someone to get his recording contract? And there's some supernatural elements in there as well. It is a Dead Park story, and everything. But and it does kind of, this one kind of sets up some stuff for the next book that'll be coming out in the next year as well. But that one's just now out. Again, I don't have physical copies of it yet. I'll be doing kind of a push for it on social media here in a few weeks. The Park turned up with a wonderful actress named Christina Cannon, who appeared in the trailer for the first Dead Park book, actually taking her character and bringing her, she is a major character within this new story. So kind of do kind of a media crossover, and kind of tell part of the story through some videos. But then, if you want to read the full story, you got to get the book. So
will you revisit any of the Dead Park stuff in short story form in the future?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The fourth book is going to be more short story. The first book was Dead Park Plaza. The second book was The Shops at Dead Park, the shopping mall. There's a third section of that neighborhood, Dead Park Estates, that we haven't even touched. The suburb that was built on top of the old military base. So, and even within that one, this isn't the end yet either. There's new mysteries that get revealed within the fourth book, and then there's more stories to delve into. I keep surprising myself as to how deep the story goes and how much further it seems to be going. So, but I'm excited. I've got the kind of a rough draft of that one together, and got my advanced readers already kind of taking a look at it. So that one will be out sometime probably middle of this next year.
Well, I'm all over that, and I'll give you a quick spoiler here. You might want to check it's coming out next week, my Global Traveler year-end top 6 books. There might be one of your books in there.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear
that. Second year in a row, my friend.
Second year in a row. That's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. So, any wrestling books, any wrestling?
Oh, absolutely.
In the works.
Dean Hill his book is on the way. It should be having my final fixing errors phone call with him. I'm hoping tomorrow evening. After that, I'll be doing one final read through. Then it goes through the editing process, and we'll have it out sometime in January. Anybody who's in Louisville, OVW fans, be on the lookout. We're hoping we can do a book signing over there at OVW, kind of do a big release for it. I've been real pleased with the response we've had on this book. Dean is a very, very humble guy. He's a hard guy to get to tell. He's a great storyteller, but it's hard to get him to brag on himself. He was a hero cop with the Louisville Police Department. He was with the Louisville Police for over 20 years. Has a lot of fantastic stories from his days with the force. Has a lot of fantastic stories of his days working security at Louisville Gardens. He literally worked Louisville Gardens security for, everybody from Hall & Oates to Milli Vanilli to the NWA to Metallica. You name it. If they came through Louisville Gardens, in the 1980s, he was probably there working security. He's got great stories on a lot of celebrities. He's got a hilarious Ray Charles story. He's got a story about selling a gun to Steven Tyler of Aerosmith and talking guns with Ted Nugent. Great story about him and Barbara Mandrell. And then, of course, there's the wrestling angle of it. He became the ring announcer for Memphis Wrestling while they were at Louisville Gardens. He actually worked a couple of angles with the Moondogs and some other folks. We got some of those stories in there. Some great memories, a lot of great photos of that era. And then just as he thought he was going to become a television commentator from Memphis, that Memphis closed down. But then Danny Davis had started up Nightmare Academy, which became Ohio Valley Wrestling. Dean Hill was the very first face you saw on Ohio Valley Wrestling television. He was there for 1,100 television episodes as an announcer, ultimately becoming a figurehead. We talk about his feud with Jesse Goddard when Jesse was forced to wear the pink bunny suit. We talk about when Ben Hameen and his evil faction decided to shave Dean's mustache. We got some fun personal stories about him and his motorcycle riding buddies, some of their adventures they've had out west. Like I said, Dean's a really fun story. It's a really fun book. Oh, his musical career too. He's was a musician. He's played in multiple bands around Louisville. A lot of people knew him from that as well as his wrestling and everything. So we do cover all aspects of his life. It's been great to see the response from the fans. Dean was like, who's kind of like Madman Pondo was, who's going to want to read my book? And people are lighting up. They can't wait. I want the first copy. I don't know who's going to get the first copy. It's there's only one of those, but no, a lot of folks are real excited to read his story, and it's great to get another one of the Louisville legends, and truly one of the founding fathers of OVW to have his story in print.
Any idea when that one's going to be ready?
January. Well, I think mid-January we'll have that one. Probably early January it'll be out on Amazon, and then by mid-January we should have copies. I should have some on eatsleepwrestle.com.
And are there any other wrestling books, at least, that you can talk about, or are they too undisclosed at this point?
Gregory Iron, we're probably about halfway through his book. Of course, he just lost his father over the weekend. Lost his battle with cancer, unfortunately. But and I've told him, like, dude, take the time you need, take time for your family. It's like, no, I need to do this. So at some point, he and I are going to get his book finished. Hopefully, have that one out by spring. I do have another person I'm getting ready to ramp up with on an autobiography, and I've got some others coming down the pipe as well. I'll go ahead and mention, one lady that I've been trying to do a book on for a long while is June Byers. She was kind of the I guess you could call it transitional women's world champion between Mildred Burke and the Fabulous Moolah. Although, technically speaking, June never actually defeated Mildred Burke for the title. She got 1 pin out of 3. The match was called, and there's a whole lot of controversy behind that. And by the same token, despite what she claims in her autobiography, the Fabulous Moolah never wrestled, much less pinned June Byers for the Women's World Championship. So, but wow. June is... I've always been a huge Mildred Burke fan, and always, really, to be honest, had kind of a chip on my shoulder towards June for what happened. But come to see it's a different side of June, and really feel like she's a lady whose story needs to be told. She needs to be remembered. June was close with Mars Bennett, whose biography I put out this past year. Has had a tremendous response too, by the way. I'm really excited to see people latching on to Mars's story and to see that one selling so well every month. But I'm going to partner up with Tamaya Greenlee on that. I've known Tamaya for a number of years through Facebook, and we finally got to meet in person this past year when she works in girl fight shows as a ring announcer. She's been a ring announcer. She's been a television announcer, and she's a great writer in her own right. She has a story coming out in the next PWI about Casey Catal. I think that's how you pronounce her name. But we've kind of like I said, I've been kicking June Byers around for a while, and I found out Tamaya had an interest in June as well. So I said, let's partner up and let's do this. So real excited to work with her, and real excited to get another one of those legendary ladies to get their story in print.
And I assume you're probably chasing down, or at least in your head, you don't have to reveal, but you probably have a few bucket lists or people in your mind that you want to go after.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely a lot out there. One thing I really want to do is try to get some more stories of the women of wrestling, and also some minorities. There's a lot of there's a lot that they're very underrepresented when it comes to the whole wrestling, wrestling book genre and library and stuff. There's a lot of folks whose stories haven't been told, and I definitely want to be a part of helping to bring some more of the women's stories to light, as well as some more of the minorities. I did the Black Panther Jim Mitchell story a couple of years ago. That was definitely been a tremendous, hit with a lot of people, and a story that needed to be brought to light. And there's a lot of others out there. There's a lot of other pioneers and groundbreakers and stuff whose stories need to be told.
That's why I like, it's one of the reasons I should say why I like your books, because you don't always go for just the flavor of the month, the hot topic now, and do a quick gloss over. You are actually, as well as being an author, you're more like a historian, where you're bringing wrestlers from the past that I've heard about, but know very little about. And then I get to read them and learn so much more in your books. And, again, coming from somebody like you who respects and loves the sport, as opposed to just a writer who's just going to write the story. I think you make the total package in writing a wrestling autobiography. And that's why I love your books. That's why I've got so many of them on my shelf, and it keeps growing.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of these stories, they came out of other books that I wrote. You know, when I wrote Bluegrass Brawlers, that's when I discovered the Black Panther Jim Mitchell. I became interested in him and began pursuing his story until I was able to tell it. Elvira Snodgrass caught my attention at the same time, and I wanted to tell her story. Haywood Allen and the Allen Athletic Club, that led to the book Louisville's Greatest Show, which is more of a deep dive from 1935 to 1957 in Louisville's wrestling history, and focusing strictly on that promotion. Mars Bennett was somebody that really started to catch my eye when I was working on Elvira Snodgrass. I got a hold of an old, one of the old cheesecake magazines from the 1940s that had a bunch of photos of women wrestlers. And separate from that article, there's a photo of Mars Bennett in there, lifting her, personal trainer over her head. She was in the magazines in her own right, even before she became a wrestler, because she was a bodybuilder, and some guys like the muscle girls back, in those magazines. And, just finding out she'd been in the circus, she'd been with Ringling Brothers, she'd been with Clyde Beatty. And then of course the tragic way her life ended, sadly, dying at 37, she was kind of long forgotten. But it was interesting. If you go back and you watch that Lipstick and Dynamite documentary, you'll notice that number one, nobody mentions Elvira Snodgrass, which is sad. Number two, they're, particularly Moolah and May, they're all dogging on, Penny Banner, they're dogging on June Byers, and they're dogging on Mildred Burke, and that's because they were deceased and they weren't there to defend themselves. I think Moolah and May did a whole lot of burying Mildred Burke, through the platform they were given with WWF, but that's a whole other story. But Mars Bennett's name came up, and it was in a positive light for the most part. It was, there were positive memories about Mars. So that was another thing that kind of struck me. So yeah, I mean, these stories, if it's a story that I really want to know, I'm going to go and I'm going to pursue it, and I'm going to see if they've got relatives who are alive, and what resources are out there for me to tell those stories, because it's a story I want to know. And that's why the Black Panther got written. That's why Elvira got written. Louisville's Greatest Show, Mars Bennett. And another one I can speak to is, while I was working, if I had not written Tracy Smothers' book, I would not have written Chris Candido's book. Wow. And that was because anytime you asked Tracy about, who's your favorite guy you ever wrestled, you wouldn't finish the question. Who's your favorite guy you ever, Candido? It's like, Candido, you need to write Candido's book after this. I'll get you in touch with his family. I'll get you in touch. And he did, I mean, Tracy put me in touch with Cloudy, who put me in touch with Johnny, and was able to work directly with the Candido family. Got to speak to a lot of folks from ECW, from TNA, from IWA Mid-South, and folks that knew and loved Chris, and just really became kind of a love letter to him. And he's the one I tell people too. It's like, that's the guy I still watch, of all the guys, not that I won't watch a Wahoo McDaniel match, because I certainly will. Not that I won't watch a Princess Victoria, but I probably watch more Candido than I do anybody else, except well, if I'm having a down day, I'll go watch Tracy Smothers do his dance break. So, because, sure. How can that not bring a smile to your face? But there's a whole lot of, I tell you, a good one just popped up not too long ago. And I had seen this one on New Japan, but it just popped up on, I don't remember if it was TikTok or YouTube, but it's Chris Candido versus the Great Khali in Japan. And it's everything you want Chris Candido versus Khali to be, because Candido's out there swinging away, chopping away as hard as he can, and then Khali just lays one chop on him, and Candido goes down like he's a dead man. Candido just makes him look like Godzilla rampaging all over him. It's a great Chris Candido match.
I agree. I'm a big, or I was, or am, whichever way you want to put it, a big fan of Candido. I thought, as you said too, very underrated. One of the truly, and from what I've heard, truly a nice guy. So. Yeah,
I've never heard a crossword from anybody about Chris Candido, and nobody had a good word to say about him.
Well, before I let you go, John, tell everybody where they can find all your books.
People can find my books, the wrestling books, at eatsleepwrestle.com. Right now, I've got a bunch of stuff on special. I've got my holiday coupon code, which is the word holiday. If you use the word holiday at checkout, you'll save 15% off your full order. We've got some books I'm probably going to be clearing out. They'll still be available on Amazon, but right now I've got some kind of clear out prices on a few titles. Mike Rogers' books are up there as well. If you're from Portland, if you're interested in Portland, Oregon wrestling history, he's written 4 amazing books over the last year. So please go check those out as well. That's all at eatsleepwrestle.com. And if you want to check out the fiction, check out the sister site, which is deadparkbooks.com. And you can actually find a link from one site to the other, just over there on the right column. And same thing applies on deadparkbooks.com. If you use the coupon code HOLIDAY, you'll save 15% on your order.
Well, you know, I'm a big fan. You know that
I
every time
appreciate
I
it,
talk to
man.
you, it's like I'm adding another book. And I honestly, I mean, I wouldn't keep talking to you if I didn't love your books. I think whether it's the fiction or whether it's the wrestling, I think you're a fantastic writer. I always appreciate talking to you. I always appreciate your insight and your friendship. And you know, I thank you for a great year. And you know, let's continue this into next year. Let's have more wrestling talk next year.
Heck yeah, let's do it.
All right, John, you have a great night. Try to stay
You too.
warm, try to stay
Will
dry,
do.
whichever. And and remember the Bears are on Saturday this week. So I
I
don't know.
got it. I got it. It's Bears football weather this weekend, man. It's
You
gonna be a
got it.
blizzard.
All right. Take care, John. Thank you,
All
sir.
right.